Thank you, Heba. As you just said, Heba, the last 25 years, I think I have been with the ERF all along, I think, from the beginning. And my first encounter with the ERF actually was when one day Lynn Squire shows up in my office. I was Minister of Planning, and he was trying to sell the idea of the Economic Research Forum creation and launching. Of course, we had a long discussion, and I was supportive and so on. But the really most important memory I have of ERF is, I don't know whether it was the second annual meeting in Tunis. Was it the second annual meeting?
I think it was, yes.
It was probably 94.
We had more meetings in Tunisia
Yeah.
than anywhere else.
But that's when I was still minister at that time, and there was this annual meeting, and the first one I was invited to speak, and it was not an official. It was not a formal speech in the plenary. It was at dinner. So she invited me to speak at a dinner, and I don't know what I was talking about. But I think I have this vivid memory. I can still see this room and all these fellows sitting, and we are close. I think the number was much smaller than it is today, of course. And but from that moment, I think I felt that this sense of community starting to emerge at that time. And this has stayed on, and I will come back to this in a moment. The second thing I would like to talk about my relationship with ERF is when I was at the World Bank, and I was in the role of a donor in a way. It was in 2007, I suppose, 2007, 2008, when we thought that it was time for ERF to move to the next stage, some of us, and with Ahmed Galal and a number of others, we thought that it was time to move and to build on what has been achieved. And that's 15 years later from the beginning in terms of creating the community, doing the training, the capacity building. But the idea was to get closer to policy making, to be more, have greater contributions in terms of the policy issues that are relevant to the region, the important issues, and so on. And that's when we started putting together the new programs that are ongoing up to now, which are structured research programs, the data, the building of the data anchor, if you like, ERF becoming the central anchor for data, economic data in the region. We thought that this was the next stage that the ERF needed to go to. And now, almost more than 10 years later, ERF has come a long way in terms of achieving those objectives. And I was, at that period, at some point, I was representing the bank, the World Bank, on the board, and then I was on the board representing as a fellow and so on. But my involvement with the ERF has been very close all along in these different capacities. And I would say what has preoccupied me all along is how to make this institution build bridges between research and policy. And I think this never-ending search, I think it's not going to end. There is no scope that this is going to happen one day and say, okay, achieved. It's really something that we continue to strive for and find different ways of doing it, including what we have tried to do last year in terms of launching the new policy portal, but there's still much more to do. I think now, after 25 years, I think ERF is in need for next jump in the different, to get a greater impact in the region. ERF has really we had some discussion 2 days ago, I think, about the themes and so on. But it's really the thinking has to go beyond themes and to go the way to do things, the way to engage, the way the research is designed, the way the research is disseminated, and so on, requires really an ongoing rethinking and upgrading and updating, because as we saw this morning, the world is changing. It's not the world that the ERF started in. We did not have in '93 all of this intangible economy significance, and the digital society was not there yet. So in this digital society, how can ERF navigate? This is still work to be done. And this is going to determine the capacity of the ERF to be linking to policy. I have to tell you, frankly, to the question that Heba asked about how much the ERF research is impacting policy, I have to say that up to now, very little. We have to recognize that. Because very little of the research really has policy content. The ERF has achieved very big progress in terms of improving the technical quality of the research. But I think there is still a lot to do in terms of improving the policy content of the research, so that the policymakers can find easily useful lessons from the research to take from and to be useful for that. So there is a lot of scope to make progress on at this stage. And I think this is the biggest challenge of the ERF for the moment. A final word on the personal note. I think many of us, and I am of those that I feel the ERF has been family. It is a community that is very special to us, for the older people. I was counting a little bit earlier today the participants, and I think there is 50%, about 50% are the older community, and there is 50% which is new, and this is great. Actually, this is very positive. It means that the ERF is attracting new people, attracting young people interested, and so on. So my word to the young generation, build on this spirit of community, of family, because this ERF family for us, the older guys and girls, and I have 2 girls here next to me, and 3, 4, but she's the younger one. She's the younger ones. Please do preserve this sense of community, this sense of family, because it's a unique experience. I don't see it. I haven't seen it anywhere else in this region. A community like this, I have not seen. And believe me, I have been around. I have seen lots of things, lots of groups, lots of communities. But the spirit that has lived on and developed and lived on in this community is to be preserved and to be developed. So my call to this younger generation coming on board, please remember that and try to build. We did not have in '93. I did not know Heba. I did not know Muna. I did not know Dr. Yusuf. I can go on and on. Rayed and for sure that's Tariq was. I don't know, he was at Boston, at Harvard at that time or something. I don't know what he was doing that time. We didn't know each other. In '93, we did not know each other. And this ERF has brought us together, as from Morocco to Kuwait and to Iran and to Turkey. And the Turkish community was not, we had very little links with the Turkish community. And we have come to have these great friends from Iran and from Turkey and from everywhere. And that's really something that is very valuable. I think we were talking about, I think it's one of the presentation about science and research and so on. And but it's social. I think it was Stiglitz was saying that R&D is a social construct, and research is a social construct as well. It's really about a community doing things the way they agree to do things. And this is the basis. This is fundamental to have this community, because it builds trust, it builds relationship and connections and ideas flow and so on, which is extremely valuable. So this intangible part of ERF, to come to our discussion today, this intangible part is extremely valuable, and I think we should cherish it, we should conserve it, we should grow it as much as we can. Thank you.